Hope you're having a great weekend, just like myself, a very fantastic Saturday afternoon, and welcome to the program. This is the Touchline on Y254. My name is Maxwell. Wasike. 2162 remains to be our SMS line, starting with the word touch, and you can also join the conversation and be part of the show via social media handles at Wasike Maxwell, at Touchline Y254. That is hashtag at Y254 channel. And remember, this particular afternoon from 2 p.m. we are bringing Kenya Premier League Round 6 fixture, pitting Sofapaka and Posta Rangers live from Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County. Our reporter and able co-host Osoro Robert is standing by to keep us posted with regard to, the atmospheric condition and some sort of attendance. Of course, remember, we shall be going there live from 1:48, 12 minutes to the kickoff. But in the studio, of course, I'm joined by two guys who form an integral part as far as Kenyan football is concerned to delve into match previews of that particular clash. But before that, let's focus on what happened this week in terms of, sporting highlights. And these are the sports pages, starting with World Cup Tour trophy. And finally, it landed in Kenya on 26, and a day later, members of the public had an opportunity to view it and even take a selfie with it at Kenyatta International Conference. And of course, it is something that has elicited mixed reactions from Kenyan football followers, some thinking that the former footballers were not brought on board even to receive it at the airport, but others arguing that Coca-Cola, by the virtue that it was actively involved in bringing it to Kenya, is not a sports company, and therefore it was not, tasked and it was not eligible to promote football activities in the country, but to push for their own brands. And that's why they had to use some sort of influencers and social media, gurus. Ronny Aloyo is joining us, and Teya is joining us for the first time since this year kicked off. He's been vanished of late, but we're having him this particular afternoon. Teya, what do you think about World Cup trophy and tour, especially in Kenya?
I think it was a good thing to have the trophy in Kenya. And as far as the people they call them celebs or socialites, I don't know, either of the two can apply. I think it was upon Coca-Cola to decide who they use it's their business. Coca-Cola is not a football company. They're there for business.
Yes.
But as much as they were in their own business, I think maybe they should have used one or two legends. Yes, this social media craze nowadays. Everyone wants the numbers. You want to create that social media buzz. You go for people with the following. But yes, you get the people with the following. But at least maybe one or two of current or former players will have been good. But again, they were not compelled to do that. It's their own thing. They did it the way they felt.
Rodney, over to you. In South Africa, we saw the trophy, being received by one of the former greats, contrary to Kenya. What do you think overall about a trophy visit in Kenya and public viewing on 27th? Of course, after landing a day earlier, being, the only person who is allowed to touch it is the President of the Republic of Kenya, and we saw him doing it at the State House and saying that he will work with county officials to ensure that we qualify to 2022 World Cup in Qatar. That's the national team, Harambee Stars. Words that were echoed also by FKF boss Nick Mwendo. What do you think?
Indeed, I also wanted to start on that note where the president said that he wants now to see the national team hoisting that trophy someday in the future, but that seems to be just a dream because where the national team is at the moment and where the trophy is, then there are two different areas. But anyhow, I also agree with Kevin that Coca-Cola is a company. They're in business just like any other company to make money, and they are not entitled really or they are not tied to taking along players or national legends with them for that trophy tour. So they get to decide who they want to take with them. But I just think it would have been a good thing to do for them to carry along one of the legends in the trophy tour around town.
Of course, the trophy tour happened in this country on 26, landing in Kenya, and the members of the public having an exclusive opportunity to view it at KICC and even taking selfies with it. But before that, of course, President of the Republic of Kenya, the only man allowed to touch it, had some words to say. Let's listen in and hear what he said about even chances of Kenya national team qualifying to World Cup in the coming days. Let's listen in.
Celebration. Today is a day for us to be proud. Today is a day for us to remember that we still have a chance to one day enter that great field and participate in a World Cup tournament.
Of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta speaking from the State House on 26, of course, after, touching the trophy. 6 kilograms coveted, silver were landing in Kenya. And remember, the World Cup will be happening this year in Russia. And several teams have qualified. Unfortunately, Kenya didn't. But having listened to FKF boss Nick Mwendo, who echoed president's remarks that, when all structures are put in place and working with all stakeholders, Kenya, the national team can make it 2022 World Cup. I don't know from your own end. What do you think, Teya?
Kenya qualifying for World Cup, I think it's still a pipe dream. We still have a very long way to go. At the moment, we only participate in competitions that we qualify without playing any qualifiers. Like we talk about Sekafa, we didn't even host CHAN. We can't qualify for CHAN. So I think we still have a way. To be realistic, we still have a very long way to go. We should not even be talking about World Cup right now. We should be working towards get those structures right, set targets maybe 2021 African Nations Cup. Then from there you can't just come from Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup to the World Cup. We still have a very long way to go. I think the president was rather too ambitious and maybe unrealistic in some way, but yeah, it's a future dream.
It's a future
It's
dream.
still
Ronny,
a dream.
do you read from the same script with Teya that, it's too over ambitious and being too over realistic to say that the national team Harambee Stars can qualify 2022 World Cup in Qatar?
Yeah, the president has said that one day he'd want Kenya to go into the World Cup stadium and be part of the event. We've done that before in 2010. We've been part of the World Cup, but just as spectators when he paid for the national team to go and watch the World Cup in Brazil. Anyhow, with all due respect, again, I think the president is preaching water and drinking wine, because we haven't seen the investment done in the national team and in sports and in football particularly. We don't have stadia at the moment. Nairobi has no stadia where players can go and play. We don't have enough facilities. We don't have the financial support. So he's speaking from one side and doing the other thing. So actions speak louder than words. I think he wants us to go to the World Cup, but then there's no political goodwill.
Plenty of developments in sporting circles in Kenya, continental and even on international fronts this week, and one of them is Paul Put, 61-year-old Belgian international, you see, signing a contract with the national team of Guinea, and now as we speak right now officially is the head coach. And talking about Guinea in terms of GDP, Kenya has a better GDP, better than Guinea, but Guinea ironically afforded the demands of 20-year-old Belgian international Paul Put, who had just been hired by FKF to steer the national team to greater level, and of course helping the national team during Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup late last year to win the showpiece against Zanzibar in Machakos. And what do you think overall as far as Paul Put going, and now officially is the head coach of Guinea, and there were rumors that he's going overseas, but now he's within the continent?
I think Paul Put has left for a nation that appreciates football and, let's say, sports in general. Kenya does not prioritize or put enough effort in sports as it should be. Talking about the GDP, yeah, the GDP could be bigger, but if you do not appreciate sports and let's say, okay, let's narrow to football, then it's that way. Talking about Put, I think from the demands he made, let's say around 2 weeks before his resignation, that's why wanting more an expanded technical bench. That he wanted to bring on board around 5 foreigners, and the federation could not meet that. So it was just a matter of time before he left. And he was interviewed yesterday, and in his what I picked from his comments is Kenya is not ready to professionalize football. Basically, he was saying we are still some years back, because the demands he made from his comments, it's like the federation was not willing to meet them. And once you cannot give me what I want to perform, then you're preparing me for failure. Then I would rather walk away and guard my reputation. That's what he did exactly, and now he has another job.
Ronny, can we say that FKF, the top football governing council in the country, was, excited over resignation of Paul Put? Because he said in an exclusive interview with the Daily Nation, he said that after tendering his resignation, he expected FKF to address his concerns and grievances over, bringing on board support staff, professional kind of, technical assistants who shall help him, achieve his set objectives and goals. But, FKF went ahead and publicly announced his resignation in media. What do you think about the same, even as he continues saying that he left Kenya with a broken heart?
First, I'd want to dispel the myth that he left for Guinea, which has a lower GDP than Kenya, because there are countries with higher GDP really in the top 20 globally, and they don't attract good coaches, and their football teams are not performing. So it's not really about the money. It's more about the goodwill and where he'd see this nation in the future. Paul Put, he's done what he could as a coach. He's a good coach. You got to give it up to him. But then I think, reading from what has been happening in the last couple of months, he first expressed his displeasure with the technical bench and said he wants to replace some members of that technical bench and get in the right people. That in itself is telling. So I don't think it's really about the money. I think it's about the future and what he can and cannot deliver for this country. I think he just could not work with the national team. For him, he saw there is a better country that appreciates talent more than it is in Kenya.
It's a development we shall be keeping an eye on and see whether Football Kenya Federation will be bringing on board a new tactician to steer the national team Harambee Stars ahead of 2019 African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Of course, a huge assignment, a Herculean task ahead of, Harambee Stars, and it is something that we want to be keeping an eye on and see how that develops out and pans out. But now, still on Kenyan football, FC Leopards, the predicaments continue. Of course, they are playing Sony Sugar tomorrow at Awendo Stadium, and of course before that fixture there have been rumors about the technical bench with the coach Robert Matano being told to step aside until Tuesday, when he shall be looking forward to submit a 5-match comprehensive report so that the management can assess his performance to see whether he can be reinstated back. It is something that has not gone down well with various FC Leopards fans. Teya, what's wrong at the Den?
I think what's wrong at the Den? I think Matano will have himself to blame for this. He was given a free hand to select to get the players. He fired a lot of players from Leopards, retaining less than 10 from a squad of almost 30. That's we are talking about around 20 players leaving the team. He also had the powers to fire his assistant coach, that's Tom Juma, brought somebody he thought he would work well with. Now I think where he lost it, he lost the game at he lost his job at Bukhungu. That's what I believe, because losing to a side like Fossa Juniors, it's a very small team. You've been given all what you required. You say I want this player, you get the player. I want this member of the technical bench, you get that. Then you fail to progress from the preliminary stage of the CAF Confederation Cup. Once your employer gives you everything you need, he demands results. And if you do not give him results, then he will ask questions. Matano being told to step aside I think it's just a softer term for being sacked. Maybe that will be confirmed by, they said, Tuesday. Leopards will have a new coach sooner or later.
Ronny, I spoke to Oscar Igaida, FC Leopards Secretary General, and he said that they have neither sacked nor suspended the coach, but it's just about stepping aside. What do you understand by stepping aside?
Stepping aside simply means you hold on for a moment as someone undertakes your duties. But from the village where I come from, they say the fish starts to rot from the head. FC Leopards has been doing the same thing every season. They bring in a foreign coach at the start of the season. The coach performs works all the way till media, gets fired. They bring in a local coach. The local coach probably wins something or doesn't win. Fails to perform at the start of the year, again gets fired, then they hire a Mzungu coach. Then the cycle continues and continues. The FC Leopards fans are not happy that Matano has been suspended. They are not happy because he should have been suspended or even fired immediately. He won Go TV because he was not the right man to lead the club forward. He's shown that because he can't find the right starting 11. He's signed all the players he needed. He can't blend the players together. He can't bring unity in the dressing room. The dressing room is divided. So I think Matano should have been fired earlier. This is just a knee-jerk reaction to what the fans have been expressing on social media and what the members have been expressing.
Don't you think consistency at FC Leopards in terms of, sticking to their technical bench, sticking to their squads, has been the main undoing affecting the team?
You see, Matano's contract was ending in December, and he had offers from other clubs, including Tusker, who really wanted back his services. But then he decided, he even told me in person before the day they played Kariobangi Sharks, he told me in person that he wants to stay here for about 2 years at Leopards, then retire from coaching. That was his plan. But then again, you see, he could not put together a proper plan, because Leopards in itself is a boiling pot. It's a revolving door, because if you don't perform today, 2 matches, 3 matches, the fans want you out. So for the office, well, it's a bad reaction from the office, really. They should have acted much better. If sacking Matano was a thing, they should have done it earlier, probably in December, then brought in a new coach who now brings them through the season. But now, well, you can expect the cycle to continue. They'll bring in a white coach, a foreign coach for that matter, then the foreign coach gets fired in August or December or September, then they bring in a local coach who will probably win GoTV. Everyone is happy. Then the local coach is fired in January. So it's just a cycle that continues. And that can only point to one thing, that the management at the club is wrong.
Controversy as far as Kenyan football is far from over, as Muhoroni Youth Football Club has also been relegated after failing to honor 3 of their National Super League matches. And Musa Dagala, the chairperson, is saying that, you know, the case as we speak right now, according to him, is in court and is looking forward to a verdict that will be in favor of their team's participation in Kenyan Premier League. How is that possible, considering that they were relegated last season?
I think talking of taking part in the Kenyan Premier League is a little, Adagal is being a little comical. Muhoroni is not the Kenyan Premier League. But again, I think their relegation from the National Super League was a little emotional, because they have an active case in court.
Yes.
And their stand is, until this case is heard and determined, we are not going to the field to play, whether it's in the 2nd tier, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even 6th tier. So I think the speed at which FKF moved to relegate them to the 3rd tier raises eyebrows. They have, what happens if they win their case and probably they are reinstated back to the Kenyan Premier League? Okay, in unlikely event, they are reinstated to the Kenyan Premier League. I think, yes, they have said they are not playing. Whose problem is it? It's theirs. They are piling matches. Maybe the case will be heard when we are in the 10th week of the National Super League. Then if they lose the case and they are told to play in the National Super League, give them the fixtures. Let them play every Sunday and weekday. It's their problem. So I think FKF is just creating room for more chaos. They shouldn't have relegated that team. They should have let the fixtures pile, wait until their case is heard and determined, then move forward. But now there will be another case after. It will be court battles after the other.
Do you agree FKF was too harsh on Muhoroni relegating them?
I think both parties are to blame. First, FKF were too harsh, because when a matter is in court, then you have to wait for the verdict before you now decide on what the court has decided for you to take action. But then FKF was a bit harsh. Then they've acted, I think, again emotionally. For Muhoroni, well, I spoke to a KPL chairman about 4 weeks ago, and he told me that good riddance to bad garbage, because most of them, they also didn't seem to like Muhoroni, and most of them didn't seem to like Adagala as a person. We've seen Muhoroni's troubles over the seasons. We've seen the fallout the chairman has had with a couple of players and with also rival clubs. Some clubs even not willing to go and play in that stadium. So both parties are to blame, but I think Muhoroni are to blame more for their troubles now. They've really found themselves where they are because of their own making.
Sports pages is what we're discussing right about now. This is the touchline. If you're just tuning in, remember KPL round 6 fixture between Posta Rangers and Sofapaka coming your way live and exclusive on Y254 from 2 p.m. and the game is happening at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County. We shall be delving into pre-match analysis of that particular fixture from around 1:30. But before that, of course, Las Vegas, 6th round of HSBC 7 series happening, and Kenya lost their first game against France 19-14 before beating Russia 19-12. And tonight they're playing Fiji, a game they are required to win in order to qualify for main cup quarters. What do you assess of our rugby standards?
We cannot. I doubt we can beat Fiji. We've been on and off this season, but although some key players like Billy Odhiambo have come back in, I doubt there is that ability for us to beat Fiji and go to the main cup quarters. Sevens, I think they're going through a phase that any team will go through it. I agree there are financial problems, but then again, a good number of the key players have exited the scene, or rather they're exiting the scene. And now it opens chance for the young players to also come through the ranks. And so it will take time. It will take time. I don't think anything good will happen this season or next season. It's just now upon KRU to stay consistent to the coach, maybe Innocent Simiu, and keep the young players coming through the ranks. I know we have very good players, but this season is still not our season.
Of course, the clip on air is courtesy of pay TV channel Super Sport, and remember, those are the clips of what happened before Kenya playing against France, losing to them by 1914 before beating Russia 1912, and tonight they will be playing Fiji, fixture they are required to win in order to qualify for main cup quarters. Kevin Teya, overall, of course, in as much as football has enjoyed massive and huge fan following in the country, rugby and athletics have represented the country at the global stage very well, enabling the national flag to be raised high. But of late, standards are dwindling. What do you attribute that to?
I think I'll just point fingers at Innocent Simiu, the head coach.
Some sort of transitioning?
I can't say it's transition because this is just a team that won the world title a year or so back. I think Innocent was given a task that was too much for him. I still don't believe he's the right man for the job. It's like he was picked from kindergarten and thrown into high school, and now you are there, you don't know what to do. I don't believe there is any form of transition, because when I look at that team, we still have almost nearly all the players we had 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons ago.
Yes.
Okay, you miss one player for this circuit, he is available for the next, and I think it's the technical team. I'll just point
two big assignment, just the same way you've talked of Stanley Okumbi when he was given the mantle to be the tactician for the national team, Harambee Stars. Of course, these are the highlights on the touchline on Y254. My name is Maxwell Wasike. Remember, hashtag KPL on Y254. We're just taking a short break before we come with match analysis of Posta Rangers against Sofapaka happening live at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County. Don't go away, stay tuned.